Boys and girls, it's Miss Davis here. We're going to learn about genres today. Good readers read lots of different kinds of books. You can put books into categories called genres. This poster shows two different kinds of genres we will read about this year. We will read narrative and informational books. When we are reading a narrative book, we will point to this side of the poster. I love reading narrative books because they tell stories. Some narratives tell real stories, but others are make-believe. When we are reading informational books, we will point to this side of the poster. I also love reading informational books because they teach real information about the world. I know that I'm going to read a narrative. I pay attention to who the people or animal characters are and what happens to them in the story. This is a picture from a narrative book. Because this is a narrative, I asked myself, who are the characters in this story and what happens to them? There are words that say, once upon a time there was a little girl named Goldilocks. Goldilocks is a character in the story. I will pay special attention to what happens to Goldilocks in this narrative book. Now let's talk about informational books. When I read an informational book, I pay attention to the true facts that the author is teaching me. This is a picture from an informational book. Because this is an informational book, I ask myself, what true facts will I learn from this book? I see that there are words at the top that say how birds grow and change. I also see a special drawing called a diagram. That shows how birds change. So this informational book is about birds. I will pay special attention to the true facts about birds in this informational book. It's your turn to look at some pictures from narrative and informational books. Tell me what you will think about before you start reading this book. Do you think this is an image from a narrative book or an informational book? Yes, it's from a narrative book. And what will you pay special attention to? The characters or people in the story. Very good. What do you think this might be about? Is this a narrative or an informational book? What will you ask yourself when you read this book? What should you pay special attention to? Right, what it's trying to teach you. Very good. When you read a book at school or at home, you can think about what kinds of questions you will ask yourself. They will be different if you read a book with true information or a narrative story. Let's read a book and talk about what genre it is. When we know what genre it is, we will pay special attention to it. The book we are going to read is called If You Take a Mouse to School. And the author is Laura Numeroff, illustrated by Felicia Bond. If you take a mouse to school. If you take a mouse to school, he'll ask you for your lunchbox. And when you give him your lunchbox, he'll want a sandwich. And a snack for later. And then he'll need a notebook and some pencils. And he'll probably want to share your backpack too. When you get to school, he'll put his things in your locker and take a look around. And spell a word or two. And he might do a little math. He'll even try a science experiment. Then he'll need to wash up, and you'll have to take him to the bathroom. Once he's nice and clean, he'll be ready for his lunch. And on the way to the lunchroom, he'll see some building blocks. He'll build a little mouse house and make some furniture out of clay. And then he'll need some books for his bookshelf. He'll start by writing one of his own, so he'll need lots of paper. He'll probably use all your pencils. And when he's finished, he'll want to read his book to you. And then he'll want to take it home. So he'll put it in your lunchbox and tuck it in a safe place. And when the bell rings, he'll run out and wait for the bus. While he's waiting, he'll pay quick attention. While he's waiting, he'll play a quick game of soccer. And then he'll ask you to shoot a few baskets. And do a little skateboarding. And when he stops to catch his breath, he'll want to eat a snack. So he'll ask you for your lunchbox, and chances are, if he asks you for your lunchbox, you'll have to take him back to school. Today we talked about genres. Is this book a narrative book that tells a story or an informational book that teaches us true facts? What do you think? Is it a narrative book? Or is it an informational book? That's right. This book told us a story, so it's a narrative book. That's right. So as you read, I want you to think about, is this book an informational book? What do I need to listen for? Is this a narrative book? What do I need to listen for? As you read, all of those things will make you a successful reader and listener. Bye, boys and girls.